Alright, without any ado whatsoever, we're going into Calavontis versus MiX. Game 1 is Umina versus Zsolt, or Zsolt versus Umina, depending on your perspective. This is the finals round of Jungy's Japes, which I believe means if the... I forget who is advantaged in the bracket, but if the disadvantaged player wins, it will trigger a reset, meaning that they will need to play another best of 3. This is a best of 3. We're looking at round 1, starting fresh. As usual, I'm going to assume that my audio is working. Please confirm if you are in chat. Alright. We are already seeing a... yeah, so we already missed a bunch of turns while I was talking, but suffice to say that Zsolt has transformed cross-up, Umina has placed focus in Dreamlands, and now performed a parry, and is writing down the contents of Zolt's hands. Alright, Zsolt getting rid of all of the known normals to avoid getting hit by that reading. Umina cannot boost from Dreamlands directly, however she does have a card called Shadow Chorus, which allows her to perform the instant boost effect of a card in her Dreamlands, so she is pretty likely to be able to do that. Alright, Umina striking. Range 4. Pretty flexible range for Zsolt. Not all that flexible for Umina, however she does have a very high payout attack called Dark Thoughts, which is being threatened. Looks like she's going to get Zsolt to waste Blaze of Fervor. Probably trying to call out a Hollow Space on that. Also answer Dark Thoughts at the same time. Umina preps. We're going to have some fast-paced games from the look of it. Zsolt boost defend, again getting rid of a normal from hands, albeit not one that was known before, I believe. Umina weighing her options. Alright, boosting Dream Telling, which currently is a +4 power boost. Gain power equal to the power of a card in your Dreamlands, maximum +5. Power of the card in your Dreamlands would be 4, because that is a focus. Pays the cost without a mind, draws for a turn, Zsolt initiates. Decent number of save options here. Overall safest would be Dive, although it does technically lose to Assault. It would get him out of the corner. Oh, excuse me, he's not in the corner. In that case... Dive would be a terrible idea for Zsolt. What is this? Whip Crack. Okay. Yep. On hit, going to push, after going to retreats. Umina gains a bunch of extra power, which does nothing, and then performs that after effect to add the card to her gauge. Zsolt has 2 transformations, and a life lead of 3. This is usually a very bad thing if you're fighting against Zsolt. We got another parry. Second and last. Alright. There's the hands. We can see... Doesn't have the other Blaze of Fervor. It does have both gun blazes. Alright, Zsolt boost Fierce. Going to get readings probably on a block with a Spike or maybe a Dark Thoughts. Yep, there's the Dark Thoughts. Going to steal potentially a card. Yep. Does Umina want that? Yes, looks like she does. Going to get rid of that focus from Dreamlands to replace it. That's due to the hit effect of Dark Thoughts, by the way. Was block stunned? Okay. I missed the Exceed action. Zsolt flipped to Hunter of Men. This is one of those rare games that you probably want to watch back in slow motion. Alright, I'm going to strike 8 in range 4, going to hit with Hollow Space. Usually an answer card being used here to attempt to bait out some kind of useful threat, such as that Gunblaze, which actually just gets discarded for force here. Makes sense. It is actually useless until Umina gets rid of her copy. Due to the transformation on Dark Thoughts, While Gunblaze is in her Dreamlands, Zsolt cannot make use of his Gunblaze at all. It is invalid as an attack for him, and he cannot play its boost. Looked like Umina prepped, I think. Either way, we're back to Zsolt. I'm not sure if the Fierce was this turn or last turn. Alright, we have the Quick Step, aka Heightened Reflexes in his case. Move one singular action. I refer to it as Quick Step because that is the name of the Ryu boost with the same effect. Although that is on a special, not an ultra. Alright, she's going to play the Gunblaze. Okay, so he gains +2 power, meaning he hits for a total of 3. Draws a card to do the advantage effect because of Battle Fugue. Now, because he is Hunter of Men, he can chain attacks, and he probably will because he doesn't want to get hit by this. Alright, he's going to use Whip Crack to pull 1 and retreat 1, and then play Dive to get in the corner and avoid her counterattack. She does still get the Before effect to draw, there it is, 2 cards. Zsolt has advantage due to landing Fatal Eye, so it is Zolt's turn. There's a running joke about Zsolt, which is that it is Zolt's turn. You don't need to know what happens. It's Zolt's turn. Really only true of Hunter of Men, though. But he likes to chain advantage. Looks like he's going to prepare. Yep, instead of spinning Gauge for that high tempo reload, he will take the slower tempo reload, trusting that he has enough advantage to keep it up. Umina backstep to range 5, draws for a turn, and then discards. Alright. He takes the regular old move action, going to range 3, his most threatened range. If he strikes with the other Fatal Eye, it will outspeed basically everything. She's going to tech that light that he played to counter, or to answer her light. Zsolt checking discards. Looking at remaining threats, possibly also evaluating normals remaining. She is out of readings, but he is not. Looks like that is a +1 speed strike via the effect of press the attack. Alright, both players opting to look through Zolt's discard. It appears... yeah, that's 1 card in deck, so there's only 6 remaining possible cards that this could be. Most players will take a moment to figure out what those options are at this time. Playing Dark Thoughts in response, it is Fatal Eye, going to hit for 3, which does not stun, but you can probably chain into something that evades. Each of his follow-up attacks, by the way, can only deal 1 damage. Basically, it means their power is capped at 1, like functionally speaking. So he cannot stun this by any means, unless he has the other spike, but I don't think he does. I actually think he's out both spikes. I think he defended, and then he discarded 1 later. So without spikes, he is left with a possible dive, or just playing something to get out of the way. He will have advantage afterwards, regardless. Alright, going to play Blaze of Fervor, jumping over, dealing 1 more damage. That gets him out of range. And he's going to stop the combo there, looks like. Debating where to put Blaze of Fervor. It's kind of an interesting question. Force is very precious results. But so is damage. And Mad Dog is a pretty good transformation. Stalking attacks this valuable in his Gauge strongly suggests that next turn he is going to change cards, get rid of the hand and the valuable cards from Gauge, which might be all of them, might just be 2 of them. It looks like he's reconsidering. He's actually going to put that Blaze of Fervor in his transformation area. Alright, he is tipping the hand apparently as a courtesy, but he might also be performing change cards here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, resetting to 7. That is change cards action. Reload the fresh deck with all of his valuable stuff back. This is terrifying. Umina's at range 1. I believe she still has a Hollow Space, which is not a safe attack, because Gunblaze exists, notably. And in this position, Gunblaze beats it handily. It is relevant as an answer, though. Alright, she has Defend out. Time for Zsolt to check those discards. Umina down to 13 cards total. And who knows how many normals. We know both blocks and both foci are down, if I recall correctly. Looks like we have a +1 something. I can't tell from here if it's power or speed, of course. Oh, it's the Hollow Space. How about that? Alright. It's probably power, then. He whiffs, and she retreats. Hollow Space has attacks at range 1 do not hit you, so he just missed, didn't get to do anything. It is now Umina's turn, and at range 4. That is the second Hollow Space. Without a card in Dreamlands, she is not particularly threatening. Then again, at range 6, Zsolt is not remotely threatening, at least without Gauge. This is old-fashioned move action, yep. Advancing 4, paying 4 force, discarding 2 ultras, 1 of each. It's now Umina's turn at range 2. You typically consider an awkward range for her. Especially with an empty Dreamlands, Out of Mind is not a threat. Or at least not a real threat. Is the same move? 1, 2, 3 force? Yep. Draws for turn. Getting out of corner. With both hollow spaces down, a plain old grasp from Zsolt would be pretty likely to hit and get him a lot of mileage, although notably that would be his second grasp if he did that. Alright, looks like he chose to prepare, which at the moment suggests that he's actually comfortable with his position and just wants to make sure he doesn't fall behind on resources. Once she gets her hollow spaces back in rotation by reshuffling from some mechanism or another, whether she chooses to change cards or perform the reshuffle action, then she'll have answers at the ready again. Not stocking a card in Dreamlands is a very unusual play for Umina here. Alright, transform the Sleeper Awakes. This heavily telegraphs that she is about to exceed, because it is anti-synergistic. It is a non-bow with Spiraling Descent, because face-down cards in Dreamlands don't work with Spiraling Descent. Like, they have no effect when it comes to Spiraling Descent, because they're face down. So, by transforming Sleeper Awakes, it says that she is desperate for this effect, so she's probably going to exceed. Alright, what do we have? EXI into Terror Whispers. That is +3 power, going to hit for 5. -1 is 4. Yep, gains advantage, and now can chain into anything. EXing the eye is surprising, to say the least. Usually you would want to play that twice. Perhaps he was looking to bait this exact response, although in that case I would have expected a +1 speed instead of using the EX. Although, if you want both the speed and the power, then the EX is just more efficient, because you're paying fewer cards. And this is why it's bad not to have a card in Dreamlands. Yep. Cross-up going to hit that 1/1/1 with no actual text to stun and take him to range 4. He can combo here. 4 is an awkward range from which to gain advantage, but it's not impossible. Alright, he's going to hit with Gunblaze for 1 more, get into close range, and then there's the Assault. Yep, 1 more. Draws a card, gets his advantage. This is typically the change card's turn. Yeah, this is some pretty well executed Zsolt play. For those of you not familiar with Hunter of Men, this is kind of what the engine looks like when it's allowed to go off unimpeded. Alright, we have a change cards 4 from the look of it. Yep, 9 cards left. Still enough to kill, no question of that. I mean, he actually has more cards left than she has life. This is either change cards or a scoop. Probably change cards. Yep, 1, 2, and then 3, and then 1 more? Yeah, so 4 more? Yeah, that's correct. Alright, she has a known cross. Could potentially be punished by a reading. Not the most trivial thing to punish, but, you know, loses to grasp, loses to, well, cross. If she draws the EX, then it becomes more awkward to cover. Alright, things are now slowing down as we're getting into the endgame. Umina probably looking to win by decking out, if at all possible. Alright, yep, going to hit for 3. Probably wants to chain this into something like Purification for advantage and reposition. With a follow-up, that will be lethal. We'll find out in a second. His force. Oh, sweep. Oh, wow. So you lose out on a lot of damage by throwing sweep as a combo attack, basically. But you get to knock out some of the opponent's resources, which might be worth it. Change cards 4. Yep, she is digging for answers that she desperately needs. Alright, Zsolt has 12 cards remaining. 12 cards to get 4 damage. Alright, she finally exceeds. That technically does flip her Dreamlands. She will notice at some point, I'm sure. And then at the start of her turn, her Dreamlands will start to be relevant again, but not yet. Alright, here's the Hollow Space, here's the Gunblaze, successfully baited. He's going to combo for lethal unless he has the worst possible hands. So she retreats, he advances. Technically she would have moved 1 more and he would have moved 1 more, but whatever. He has the damage. Like, he has demonstrated that he had the lethal effect, so moving the cards correctly is not an issue. For those wondering how exactly that works, Hollow Space misses, then moves, which means it's not at range 1 anymore, so Gunblaze gets to hit at range. Successful baits. Well played, MiX. Very solid Zsolt play. Alright. Let's transition back to our... what is this called again? Well, transition screen, whatever you want to call it. While the players choose their next fighters. I will see if I can get the thing on the side correct. Zsolt now retires in glory, by the way. The way this works is that if a fighter wins, then they are eliminated. So you basically have to win with 2 different fighters. You can't just win with the same one twice. Trying to get this little thing on the side to look right. Okay, round 2 is going to be Umina versus Ragna, the other red-clad, white-haired combo attacker. Oh, excuse me, is this best of 5? I thought it was best of 3. I don't even know what I'm streaming, apparently. Well, we'll find out. Once the appropriate number of wins have taken place, we will see if players keep going. Alright. Umina taking first. That is her prerogative to choose as the loser of the previous fight. Alright, Ragna rolling 5. Oh, I should get their names on the side while I still have any amount of time to move. Focus in Dreamlands. Ragna taking range 1. Umina boosting Fierce. Unafraid. Interesting. Alright. Ragna also boosting Fierce, which gets teched. Usually tech gets saved for a speed boost, but not in this case. He did play a speed boost, that's Nightmare Edge. +1 speed hit, push 1 or 2, and then followed it up with his other copy of Fierce. That is all the grasps down, though he is not out of speed 7s. Being Ragna, he has Inferno Divider, a speed 7 attack. Alright, she has Dark Reflections, is going to steal his sweep into her Dreamlands. That is the boost on Hollow Space. It functions like parry, but the discarded card goes to her Dreamlands instead of your discard pile. +4 power on her side. She really wants to get mileage out of this very first strike. Interesting. The only thing that she could play that would actually beat his grasp, as far as I can tell, would be Focus. So this... oh, well, hold on. He's out of grasp. What am I saying? Yeah, no idea anymore. Alright, Foul-Tempered. Armor and Power. Chose not to spend life, which is a little curious. Umina boosting parry. Going to try to knock out specific things. This is, as we can see, Umina playing an answer playstyle, or sorry, yeah, an answer playstyle, like trying to answer specific threats. Took out Devoured by Darkness / Azure Grimoire, probably for the boost, but possibly for the attack. The attack is actually very high value, but it's not relevant for a while because you have to have 3 gauge to play it. But yeah, we have a successful parry. We had a successful Dark Reflections. Umina playing like she knows what's happening, which is always a little bit unnerving. Alright, Ragna finally ready to strike. She plays the Stun Immune Sweep. It is Blood Scythe. Looks like Ragna will win the speed tie. Going to advance, hits, push 1 or 2. Get that Ultra to his gauge, which is a nice little piece of value. Chose to push 1, makes sense. Range 2 is pretty good for him, and it's not pretty good for Umina. And that is 8 power, I believe. And then he will take 10. -2 armor is 8. Yep, checks out, and lose a card. That all seems correct. The reason that was a Stun Immune Sweep, by the way, was because there's a copy of Sweep in Dreamlands. So, she boosts Defend. It is now Ragna's turn. He prepares. Umina striking. Interesting. The Telegraph is cross. If so, he can't actually stop it. He could hit it with Inferno Divider, but that would not stun. Gonna play the Focus. It is Out of Minds. Interesting. So that is a 6 power Out of Minds. because it gains +5 power from the hit effect. So it deals 4 and then takes 3 in return, so outtrades by 1. Wait. Huh? Oh. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Umina forgot the armor on defend. Yeah, the reason that Ragna went up is because of the hit effect, where whenever he hits you, he gains life, assuming that he's not at maximum. Alright, looks like Ragna is initiating at range 2 with defend in play. This is pretty solid. Both players pretty even. Ragna's slightly ahead on resources, just because of that gauge. I would also say that that's a little bit deceiving, because he can get... the value he can get from gauge is at... Oh, what is this? Oh, interesting! Okay, so that was a Gauntlet Hades, which she called with a dive, taking the corner and dealing 4 after armor. It's 5-1 armor. Alright, she's now going to run back out of the corner, because you don't want to be in the corner against Ragna. Although she does potentially have the other hollow space. We've seen one drop, but the other still exists to be a threat. Alright, Ragna prepares. Range 3 is not bad for him, but it's a mix-up range. He doesn't have a lot of things he can play at full confidence. Ah, there's the other hollow space. So now that it's in Dreamlands, she can copy it with her special Shadow Chorus, which becomes a copy of the card in Dreamlands, which means that she effectively is threatening extra copies of hollow space. Never a good thing for the opponents. Alright, she is transforming Silver Key, which lets her now put this gauge to work. But as an action, she can spin 2 gauge to force the opponent to defend with Wild Swing when she initiates. Alright, it's Ragna initiating here. He has a +1 power, +2 armor boost, by the way. That typically means that he's going to play something that's at least speed 3, so that he doesn't lose against Spike, because otherwise he can get pretty good value out of this. Alright, he plays Dive, she plays Hollow Space. Both players miss, she retreats. Alright, it is now Umina's turn. Range 4 is respectable. I don't think we've seen any Carnage Scissors. Is the plural of scissors just scissors? Probably is, isn't it? I don't think we've seen any copies of Carnage Scissors dropped. There we go. Which means that at 4 to 5, Ragna is threatening a card that's nothing really beats, although she can trade with it a number of ways. Speaking of, Ragna is initiating here. Could be Dead Spike, could be Carnage Scissors. It is Carnage Scissors, so she is going to miss and then advance, and he is going to close and then miss. Nobody hits. Yeah, so he's the attack range 4 and 5 don't hit you. Alright, she boosts defend. That is her second spike, I believe. And Ragna prepares. Alright, she stocks that Dreamlands. There we go. Maintaining something of value in Dreamlands is pretty important. Alright, Ragna's taking a second. One pretty common play that you would see here would actually be to boost the other Carnage Scissors. However, against Umina, especially an Umina with a stun immune sweep when you already have a dive down, if I recall correctly, that is a shaky prospect. I could be wrong, maybe he doesn't have any dives. Oh no, there it is, not over yet. Alright, striking with a mix-up. Could be the on-curve assaults, which would trade roughly even, depending on how you count, against the sweep. Could be a dive, which would lose to assault but beat basically anything else. If she's holding EX Call the Dreamland, that's probably the answer. She plays Unknown Kadath at speed 6. Okay. Yep, so as a before effect, she puts the opponent's attack in her Dreamlands, adds that to her gauge, and then the strike ends. They go to cleanup. Ragna gets to do nothing. That's a very, very safe play. Alright, Umina preparing. Ragna's turn. Prepares also. It looks like she's considering striking with that Blood Scythe, honestly. Loses to dive, but that's about all it loses to, but it loses pretty hard because it would put her in the corner. What is this? That is a +5 power boost, which also has after atmosphere gauge. So she is looking to build some gauge pretty quickly, probably so she can utilize the Silver Key. We have a parry, going to knock out the other Shadow Chorus. Makes sense. She has a parry, going to knock out nothing at all, apparently. We see a Spike, EX Assault, EX Inferno Divider, Block, and the other Devoured by Darkness, which is his last remaining Ultra. I mean, I'm probably going to take a moment to copy those down. That is Prudence. Well, there was a block on that hand, so it looks like Ragna might be considering parrying something. If there's two foci live, it's a important decision here. If there's one focus live, you probably just parry the focus. Hard to say. He might also just be considering going for it with a Spike or an Assault. Both of those, if he strikes from hand though, then he is playing something which is guaranteed to lose to Blood Scythe. So that would probably not be prudent. Because she has Blood Scythe on tap. Alright. Ragna checking Umina's discards. How many cards are there left? 8 cards? That makes sense. Probably just going to figure out what the remaining 8 cards are then. To get as much information as possible. Well, we've been streaming for about half an hour. If you haven't been drinking water as you're watching, please do so now. Stay hydrated. Looks like Umina is also searching Umina's discard pile. Maybe just to speed things up. Alright, that is EX Assaults. Huh. I really don't see a reason not to throw the Blood Scythe here. Yeah. Yep. So, takes 4, heals 1, then takes 4, and deals 5. Notably, because that Blood Scythe leaves Dreamlands, it does not get +5 power. I guess that would be the reason, right? Like, if you could play something else to trade with the EX Assault and then also have +5 power on top. In retrospect, I guess that's slightly obvious. Alright, notably, Ragna has advantage now. Although, not a very impressive hand. Block, Spike, EX Divider, Devoured by Darkness. Okay, EX Devoured is kind of impressive, never mind. I think she's out of hollow spaces, and if so, that attack does a tidy 6 damage at speed 8. Honestly, the EX is excessive at that point. Pretty good for trading, though, and he could use some trading up. That's the EX Divider, so if she has a focus or a sweep, she plays that. She probably doesn't, or she would have played it last strike. Umina, I'm guessing, checking the reference to verify the exact stat line of Inferno Divider. Huh. I did not think of that. Yeah, since he initiated it pushes 1, and it only does 6 damage, which means that this will trade. Yep, she's going to steal a block, which is pretty low value, honestly. But more importantly, she got to trade with the X Divider. Also, she got Spiraling to Sin transformed, which, okay, again, on block, not super high value, but nice to have. Also, burning cards out of his hand is no small thing. So that means your remaining card is Devoured by Darkness, I guess? Or Spike. I feel like I saw the Spike drop at some point. What was that? Oh! Umina stole a sweep, I guess. Or is it the other way around? Ah, there's the 30th card. Yeah, make sure cards go to their owners, people. Nice thing about having different card backs, by the way. I admittedly was not paying enough attention to keep track that cards went back to their owners. But yeah, that checks out. 5 plus 19 is 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30. There you go. That all seems correct. Alright, it is Umina's turn, and let's see. She is looking through the discards. Maybe she doesn't know that last card in hand. Well, even if she does know the last card in hand, figuring out what 5 cards are in deck is pretty relevant, because Ragna's pretty likely to Wild Swing. Alright, looks like she chose to prepare. Either because she's not confident she can beat that deck, or because she just wants to build some resources before going into the kill. Whoops. Alright, that is a reshuffle action, going to pick up that Black Onslaught. I suspect probably the reason that Ragna was being very careful to check discards was he did not want Black Onslaught to get stolen away by a Parry or a Dark Reflections. Alright. Well, one card in hand, which I think was known, and then a card, Ultra that he can't play right now, because he only has 3 gauge, means Umina is pretty likely to use Silver Key to force him to Wild Swing on defense against a reasonable attack from her hands. Unfortunately, that block in her Dreamlands does not really do her much good. It does mean that his blocks would be invalid, which I guess is nice, but it notably doesn't let her land the other Out of Mind with +5 power or something like that. Notably, with a hand this small, Ragna does not have as much to fear from Call of the Dreamlands as most characters would. Call of the Dreamlands being an Ultra which gains extra power depending on how many Specials and Ultras both players have in hand. Alright, looks like she's going to give back that block and put a focus in her Dreamlands. There's the last focus. She should draw for into... Oh no, hold on, she's deciding on her transformation, sorry. Yeah, she can pay a force to move here. That is this one? Yeah, slipping away. Alright, and now she draws for an turn. This is... Oh, actually not that risky. I was going to say, this is risky because she's tipping the hand and he could burst into his focus for reading, but the only reading threat here is EX Assault, which is pretty legit. Yeah, Ragna is clearly in danger from this hand. But Umina is also in an unknown amount of danger. We will probably see the burst because the risk of... Like, by the time he gets his 4th gauge, it might be Umina's turn, in which case she'll be able to force him to Wild Swing with Silver Key. Or, you know, that will already have happened, and the game will be over. So, probably see a burst here. Can't be sure. No, a prepare. Alright. That just makes Call of the Dreamlands that much scarier, doesn't it? If Ragna drew, for example, 2 specials or ultras, then Call of the Dreamlands could potentially be dealing lethal now, if I've counted correctly. Oh. She is exceeding. Okay, I guess she wants that reading back in hands. Yeah, exceeding is, like, her exceed mode is good at closing games. She starts to get basically a draw at the start of each returns, as cards cycle through her Dreamlands. On the other hand, well, we'll see. Taking a turn off to exceed in this situation is a risk. It's actually one of the standing decisions of the game Exceed is, can you afford to take a turn right now to exceed? A lot of characters make that less important, but excuse me? You're in exceed mode, Umina. Okay, carry on. Yeah, so this is almost certainly EX call. Looks like Ragna is going for the armor here. Oh, focus is invalid! That was a huge mistake that will probably cost in this game. He can invalidate that, he can invalidate that. Umina should have validated first, but it's probably not going to matter. It's 6 power from here, 7, 8, 9 power. That's game. That was a huge mistake. Forgetting that focus was invalid because of Dreamlands. Well, because of Spiraling Descent. Alright. Well, Umina takes it. Capitalizes on that oversight. Ragna did not defend himself effectively. So, we will go back to our transition screen. As players set up for Game 3. It is now 1-1. I said that in a questioning tone. It is now 1-1. There we go. Make it seem like I was actually, you know, here when it happens. So Umina's eliminated, Zsolt is eliminated. We still have Ragna, Hakumen, Litchi, Arakune, or Arakune, depending on which dub, I guess. Ooh, alright, well, players have chosen their next fighters. Back to the ring we go. It's Arakune versus Hakumen. These characters have some pretty fun fights in lore. Let's see, which side is which? That is the Arakune side. Okay. Which means that is the Hakumen side. Alright, so Hakumen choosing to go first, as is his prerogative. Does give Arakune a deeper mulligan, which could be relevant. Oh yeah, both these players have an 8 cost exceed, which is pretty funny. They also both have pretty spectacular exceed modes. Arakune's exceed mode basically turns all of his attacks into just monstrously overstated, inescapable things. Hakumen's exceed mode makes all of his ultras free. Oh, speaking of ultras. At the end of each of his turns, he's going to, at the top of his deck, to his gauge if he did not strike. Alright, both players have +2 power. This looks a little familiar in terms of opening boost wars. Arakune now boasting an additional +2 speed. Interesting. Okay, trying to make sure he covers that Gurren from opening positions. Do they have the references handy? Yeah. Where's Gurren? There it is. Alright, Hakumen closing into range 1. There's a running joke that at range 1 speed doesn't matter. The truth of it is that generally at range 1 people don't have ignore, armor, and guard, so you can play things like focus, sweep, EX focus, EX sweep. We have a parry getting rid of a focus, speak the devil, suggesting heavily that Arakune wants to throw Disjoint Union. Alright, that light gets teched, making Disjoint Union decidedly mid-speed. Defend put into play. Both players going through normals pretty quickly here. Hakumen also hemorrhaging information, but he did just hit 4 gauge, which is an important breakpoint because both of his ultras cost 4 gauge. Alright, that's Tsubaki, which is a boost that grants up to +3 power, depending on what he spends on it. Okay, Forbidden Knowledge. Everybody go and make tea. Come back later. No, sorry, that's a joke. Forbidden Knowledge is a boost which basically takes the top 5 cards of your deck and splits them across a bunch of different zones. So one goes to your sealed area, face down, one goes to your gauge, one goes to your overdrive, one is your end of turn draw, and one will be on top of your deck. Alright, Arakune making room for that sealed area. Leaving the card face down until final decisions are made is reasonable. This way, if you change your mind, you can kind of go back on it and you haven't really given any information away, right? Yep, that looks like that's going to be overdrive, and that's going to be the end of turn draw. Alright, so now... Oh no, other way around, sorry, that's the seal apparently, that was the overdrive. Good to know. Alright, so a speed 3 in overdrive, permutation in R, a speed 5 in gauge, that's disjoint union. Alright, we have a hit effects, Agito, advance up to 1, you put him as card at random. Hakumen just kind of playing for a little bit of extra value from the look of things. Alright, we have -1 speed, attacks at range 1 do not hit you, and now draw a card. That is a very potent boost here. Hakumen probably going to try to get rid of it. However, both techs are down, so his only real way to do so is with movements, or possibly by striking with a ranged attack that moves him. Does he have anything accessible at this time? I don't think so. I don't think he can do that from range. Both dives being down hurts him here. Yeah, actually, I don't think he can beat =0. That's awkward. Yep, going to just take the move action, which Arakune will probably keep pace with. Arguably, it benefits Hakumen to be given that much time, but if they do it indefinitely, it will certainly be to his detriment, because he will go through his deck, giving a lot of information to his opponent. And as we have seen so far, this Arakune player leans on hand information, hand manipulation, and punishing based on the contents of the hands. Very good at the card game aspects of Exceed. Umina player, go figure. Arakune not immediately closing in is a little bit surprising. Might just be deciding what force to spend. Might not want to play the long-term footsies game. Both players have a decent amount of value on board in terms of this boost war that is ongoing. Hakumen certainly has more, considering he is up to +5 power. Arakune has a defend, which is nice, but typically like low value. It's just good for making other things have more value. And then Fierce, which is obviously just +2 power on deck. Just as the Arakune player thinks of what they need to do, let's take a better look at this boost. =0. So this can change over time. That -1 speed in certain situations is a drawback. In this situation, it's probably a boon, because -1 speed means that you're likelier to hit after your opponent misses, right? You want your opponent to miss, and then you can hit, because that way your hit effect from your character ability will activate later in the strike, so that you don't lose your range 1 dodge. Because yeah, this hit effect gains you an overdrive, a card in overdrive, excuse me, and that changes this X value. Because there's not a timing on this. That is a passive effect. It is ongoing. It is evaluated whenever you need to evaluate it, basically. So it will change. Obviously, if Arakune plays normal, that's not relevant, because his normals do not activate the hit effect that adds the top card of his discard pile to his overdrive. Where are we at? Arakune is at 14 in deck, Hakumen at 10 in deck. Arakune very slow on his ramp, Hakumen pretty fast on his, but also Hakumen currently at the disadvantage in neutral. Well, okay, not right now, but it's Arakune's turn. So Arakune can make that true. A parry! Successfully parries Gurren, but this is very surprising, because now Hakumen is going to strike to try to get out of that range 1 dodge being relevant, yeah. anything from a cross here actually would probably work just fine. If Arakune calls this correctly, he can probably still answer it, but it's going to be awkward. Like, he could play the other if P then Q, so that attacks with higher speed don't hit him, but then if he runs to something that is speed 3 or lower, he will suffer horribly. Yeah, this is extremely dangerous. I'm very surprised at that parry. Notably, this is not going to be an attack that closes, though. You can rule that out, right? Because Assault doesn't hit, so there's no reason for Arakune to be afraid of Assault. Or Yanagi. Or Inma. Responding with cross. Okay, yeah, that's gonna get crushed. Yeah, so that's a 5 power cross right now, and then how much gauge is gonna get spent here? 1, 2, 3. Alright, that's that before effect, so that is a 8 power, dealing 7. And then with this hit effect, going to advance 1, force a random discard, and then retreats at the end of all that. Whew. Okay, that Arakune clearly played that cross on a read that did not pan out. Well, that was Hakumen's strike, so it is Arakune's turn. They are back at range 4, which is certainly better for Arakune than it is for Hakumen. At least unless he gets Fumijin in play. Oh, look at that, Fumijin. Protection 4 and 5 don't hit you. Yeah, that gets teched. That makes sense. Is Hakumen have the other copy? Maybe not. He boosted massive. Plus 0 to 1 range, plus 2 armor, plus 2 guard. Very good boost. Oh, that's both spikes gone. That's a little sad. Arakune looks like he's considering initiating into this. He's got a few options here. Most of them pretty, tricky and misleading. So, this could just be a dive, right? But this is more likely to be something like a cross or an F piecewise. Hakumen looking at Arakune's options. Just gonna play Shipu, which... yeah, alright, this'll trade. So, Arakune has to pay 2 force if he wants to hit. Hakumen has to pay 4 gauge, period, because, he played an Ultra from hands. Arakune does hit for 2 damage, which is going to get the top of his discard to his overdrive area. Then he retreats so he doesn't walk into a bunch of damage, and then he takes 4 damage in return. So, gets out-traded. Yeah, Hakumen seizing immediate value off of that Ultra instead of trying to be super conservative so that he can have the optimized Exceed mode. Yeah, he is clearly not afraid to hit his reshuffle. Going into range 2. Yep. And maintaining that 4 gauge threshold so that he can still play his other Ultra. I believe there is 1 copy of Yukikaze left. I could be mistaken, but I think there is. Both Shibus are down. Arakune preps. Yeah, range 2, when he only has 2 gauge, is not the best range for Arakune, although he has options. He's too janky a character not to have options at pretty much any range. We have a parry. Looking for, I'm guessing, F inverse? Hard to say. Alright, so 4, Y2-, Y2-, Discernent Union, F of G. And draws for end of turn. Might have been looking for a focus, actually, since Hakumen is about to reach the bottom of his deck. What? Prepare? Okay. Not sure what was happening there. Guessing a misclick. Luckily, it was a card that was already known, so not a huge issue. Alright, with permission of the opponents, Hakumen searches his deck and then shuffles. So those 5 cards are known. There is a reading coming out here. And a wild swing, calls the dive, plays Rinka, wins the speed tie, hits for 4, burns a gauge. Alright, pretty solid. May have known that both cards in deck beat the dive, may have just bet that he would get the one that did. But given how this player has been playing so far, and the characters that he plays, it is pretty likely that that was a guaranteed success. Alright, Arakune boosts lights. Arakune is at 4 out of 8 now, by the way. Looks like Hakumen is going to pick up Akumetsu. Reshuffling. Yeah. And after end of turn draw, which is the Astral, plays his top of deck to gauge. Alright. Arakune now with a slight edge. Okay, Akumetsu has some interesting interactions here. Notably, it's not valid yet. He doesn't have 8 gauge. Looks like this is Bellbug. Now strike, hit, draw a card out the server drive. Alright, well the Telegraph is just Spike. Could certainly... Oh, 1 card? Okay, so it's probably not Y2 dash. Yeah, for clarification, oh, what is this? It is Y2 dash. Wow, that was brave. Didn't work out very well, though. Hits for 6 and then takes 7. Does, however, get the top of this card to Overdrive, which is important, and then gets Spellbug to Overdrive as well. So it's now at 7 out of 8, and the Arakune has nearly reached his threshold of terror, or, yeah, threshold of terror. We're going with it. It's alliterative, even though it doesn't sound like it. Alright, brings turn to Hakumen, who prepares. Okay. I was going to say, is he going to strike and pretend it's a mix-up? Because Akumetsu is not valid, so that's pretty surprising. Yeah, for clarity on Hakumen's ability timing and the manual reshuffle action, the way that the Astrals work is that they replace the card you would draw in a turn, basically. So instead of drawing at the end of a turn, you do that. It does not skip your draw step. So anything else you would do in your draw step, such as check hand size, or, in Hakumen's case, at the top of your deck to your Overdrive area, or if you're... is there someone else who does it? Well, Enchantress doesn't have an Astral, so I'm not going to think too much about whether that would be relevant. Anyway, you get the idea. Like, instead of the act of drawing a card from the top of your deck, you add the Astral to your hands. And then, having performed the draw a card at the end of turn step, you add the top of your deck to your Overdrive area. Or not Overdrive, Gauge. Gauge. Hopefully I got the point across, because I definitely said that wrong. At any rate, looks like Arakune picked up his Astral. Yeah, if we see a parry right there, so Hakumen is not super likely to have the second parry already accessible. Boost lights. Notably, Hakumen is in an unsettling amount of mortal peril right now. Well, not right now, but he will be. So where's that Astral? Yeah. Actually, if Arakune still has a reading, then right now. Because if he lands a reading and stuns with into infinity, Hakumen will die. Typically, this is what you keep parrying around for, but it looks like Hakumen has not done this. Going to change card? No, move action. Going into close range. Okay. So as not to be at risk of spontaneous astral defeat. Yeah, discarding the Astral might seem crazy, but if Hakumen exceeds this game, he will shuffle his discard pile into his deck, so it's not like he's actually losing access to it. And based on how he's been building up this gauge, it looks like he probably will exceed this game, though he might play an Ultra before then, if he feels like it. Alright. A plus or minus B, opponent chooses either they add a card from their hand to your Overdrive or look at their hand top card of the deck. Needs to pay the force cost, but this is going to be an interesting decision, because if Hakumen has normals in hands... Okay, the normals he has in hand are... Excuse me? What? This was not correct, but can't be helped, I guess. It does not say reveal the top card of your deck. It says the opponent... Or, sorry, it says look at the top card of their deck. So, the Hakumen player should not have flipped that card. Regardless, it looks like he had declared his next action beforehand, and it was evidently considered acceptable. We do have a reading come out. It's not going to be a very high-value reading. It is going to get Arakune over that gauge threshold so that he will be able to exceed in the very near future, though. It looks like Hakumen may have missed a top deck after that parry. I'm not sure. Normally I would step in to stop things, but the player is moving very quickly and had already resolved, you know, the next action by the time I caught it. Also, that was a fairly minor resolution error. Like, he knew the top card of his deck instead of not knowing the top card of his deck. Not the biggest issue. Alright, Hakumen initiates at range 3, plays the on-curve Gurren, must spin to gauge and is going to gain advantage. Goes to range 1. Alright. Arakune wild swing a block, pretty good for him. Looks like he paid a gauge to not take any damage here. Arakune's resources are pretty low and his options are getting thinner. Oh wait, 14 cards? Right, he reshuffled, never mind. Okay, his options are fine then. Alright, he has a gauge cost of 3. Looks like he's going to try to build a bigger hand before he starts paying out though. This does give Hakumen time to draw into Akametsu and or Yukikaze though. Looks like Hakumen prepares, both players kind of getting ready to go into Exceed mode. Hakumen bulking up with 2 copies of defend for +2 armor, +6 guard. Is evidently expecting a pretty monstrous attack from Arakune and wants to be able to trade well with it. Alright, looks like Arakune is now exceeding, so we have his exceed cost is discounted for each card in his overdrive, so his cost ended up being 3, putting a total of 8 cards in his overdrive. Now when he exceeds, he draws 2 and strikes per the text, which is on the front side of his card, and striking with this. Okay. Typically you would play a Yukikaze here, or Nakametsu. Depends what he has, though. 4 cards out of 9. Don't remember. I think 1 massive dropped, so I think there's 1 Yukikaze down. And Nakametsu's actually still in discard pile, isn't it? Never mind. So Hakumen is inspecting the printed speeds of the cards in Arakune's sealed area. This is because that will determine what stats Arakune can get. Alright, it is Inma. Okay. Going to cost Hakumen a gauge, going to hit for 2. And then eat 6 minus 2 is 4 damage in return. Yep. Now, due to that overdrive effect, Arakune looks at the top card of his deck, decides not to seal it, evidently. And then draws it. And then draws it. And then draws it. Ah. Okay, deciding to seal it after realizing that he would draw it. Yeah, that's the overdrive effect, by the way. When you discard a card from your overdrive, you look at the top card of your deck, and you may seal it face down. Alright, here it looks like Hakumen is going to enter Exceed mode so that he can slam back-to-back Yukikazes, probably. At least on defense. Also, it'll get that Akametsu back in deck. Alright, yep, there is 8 gauge. Oh, and he'll also start to be able to recur cards from here, so he can get those Shipus back in hand as well. Shippu a little bit less reliable than usual in this situation, because you are against an Exceed mode Arakune. But we'll see. Ah, they're making it nice and pretty. That's good. Alright, there's the Exceed kicker, which is when you exceed, shuffle your discard pile into your deck. He then draws for end of turn, and then he is not in normal mode anymore, so he doesn't add the top card of his deck to his gauge. Alright, Arakune performs his overdrive effect after discarding a card from his overdrive, which is the start of turn. Looks like he's keeping it, although we'll see, he might renege on that. And he's going to Wild Swing. Okay, feeling good about this Wild Swing. Almost like he knows what it is. Alright, F inverse, probably going to invalidate this, actually. Oh, it doesn't have a choice, excuse me, that is 3 gauge. So, first he will discard a card from his overdrive area. The speeds match, which means that his attack has -8 to 0 range, +2 power, and +1 speed. It's actually kind of risky, because he probably doesn't want to hit the Yukikaze here. So, but he's choosing to match it. And then, because it's invalid, he will get +3 armor. Also, he will perform his overdrive effects, all before he does the replacement. So, does he seal it or not? He does not. Okay. He's going to trade, yeah. So he hits for 6, and then he takes 3, yeah, because of the +3 armor, and gains advantage. Alright, so Hakumen goes to the corner because of his hit effect. It is now Arakune's turn because he gained advantage, so start of Arakune's turn. Discards a card from his overdrive, performs his overdrive effects. Speeds left are 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Yep, drops to 5, so he has... yeah, makes sense. Because he wants to have different options, ideally. Well, with 8 cards in hand... Hey, Arakune has 8 cards in hand. It's thematic! He's the spider. Alright, looks like he's going to Wild Swing. I don't think he sealed that. I think when he picked it, he kept it, so I think this is the card he just saw. I could be wrong. Looks like I have 2 cards in seal, though, so I think that's correct. Well, does Hakumen have the second Yukikaze? It's a big question. If so, he probably plays it. If Arakune activates his character ability, he basically can't underspeed Yukikaze. If he discards a speed that doesn't match, then maybe he can, by playing the other focus, for example. Hard decision on Hakumen here. Plays a cross into a block. Okay, it was a bait. Yep. Hakumen called it correctly. So Arakune still must discard something. Doesn't have to match the speed, though, so he doesn't. And then he'll look at the top card of his deck. And he may seal it. Guess he's just deciding not to seal it. Or he's paying his force in the wrong timing, which doesn't matter much. He would be taking 1 damage here. Probably doesn't want to take it. Probably wants to take nothing. Yep. Chose to pay a force. Okay. Yeah. Well, he didn't have to do anything with the top of his deck other than look at it, so presumably he looks at it and I didn't notice, or he just decided not to. But yeah, good call on playing the cross against the low value block there. Now, Hakumen gets a turn, so he will discard a card from Overdrive, which triggers his Overdrive effect, so he returns a card from his Overdrive to his hands. Looking like, yep, picking up Shipu. Makes sense. You can play it for free, but also it's not actually safe. He might just want to boost it. Oh no, actually he's going to change cards. Or move, but probably change cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Drawing a total of 7, counting in a turn. What? Right. You are not in normal mode, Hakumen. You are in Exceed mode. Alright, so Arakune discards the 4 from his Overdrive, the last remaining 4, leaving him with a 2 and a 3. Looks like he did not seal. Again. EXing. Alright. Probably looking to kill. Considering Yukikaze is still a threat, he might just be hoping that Hakumen did not draw it. Because he only went through half the deck. Half the remaining deck. It's block. It's sweet. That is going to be very, very costly, but it won't kill. So discards the 2. Evidently chose not to look at the top of deck. 7, 8, and 9 power. Yeah. The error, for those who didn't catch it, was that Arakune swept a random card from Hakumen's hand, then looked at the top of his deck, which meant that he had the opportunity to make a decision about whether or not he sealed that card, based on knowing what he swept from Hakumen's hands. This might seem like a very subtle thing, and it is, but we're also watching some of the highest level play available from very, very skilled players, so this is the level at which it matters. And the level at which I expect people to get it right, so I'm going to tease them about it. Alright, paying a bunch of force. Hakumen takes no damage there. There was no advantage gained, so it is now Hakumen's turn. Yep, going to pick up Shipu. 9 cards left on Arakune's side of the fields. He has already reshuffled, which means Hakumen is probably tempted to just wait this out if he can. If he can change cards... Well, actually, let's see. 6 cards engaged, yeah. He's not really going to be able to wait this out forever. Because both players have already reshuffled. Arakune is going to just go down swinging. Moving to range 1 is a little bit interesting, because this actually suggests to me if Arakune has any dives remaining, that's what he would play. But I'm sure it's based on what is left available, and I have not done the math. It's like Hakumen has almost certainly evaluated what Arakune's 11 remaining cards are, and is just not afraid of what's left. Oh yeah, and that was the last overdrive, so Arakune flips back. Or, based on the fact that they're both searching Arakune's discard, now is when they are figuring out what are the remaining possible cards. It's actually one of the benefits of having a face-unsealed area, is your opponent cannot with 100% certainty narrow down your remaining options, because some of them you set aside. That looks like a Wild Swing. And I think that was the card that was peaked earlier, so this is a known Wild Swing. Ideally, it would be something like P then Q or F inverse, where it has... It could be invalidated if it's not useful. We'll see. Arakune needs to kill, and he needs to kill fairly quickly. But he's out of Exceed mode, so his cards are running very, very thin. I kind of think Hakumen just plays the Shipu, because Arakune does not have a range 1 ignore armor. At this point, anyway. Worst case, he gets hit by dive, right? Yep, gonna invalidate P then Q, plays Spike, and loses the game. Alright. Hakumen takes it. Yeah, if only Arakune was still in Exceed mode, then that Spike would have worked. Still not quite lethal, though. Good game. Yeah, so we'll find out soon whether this is a best of 5. I honestly don't know. If so, then I'm going to be changing the thing on the left side of the screen, because it doesn't make sense anymore. Oh yeah, no, they're setting up for another game. Alright, we're still here then. Cool. Sorry for the misunderstanding on my part. Alright, looks like we have Litchi versus Zsolt coming in. What were the... Yeah, oh yeah, victor of the first game is Zsolt, so Zsolt has now re-entered the legal rotation, is I think how someone said it worked. Take your word for it. Alright. Game 4. Yeah, it is 2-1 in MiX's favor. So if it's best of 5, then MiX winning this wins the set, which will trigger a bracket reset, actually, and cause a new set to be played. If Kala wins this, then we go on to Game 5. Alright, we have Kodagaishi being played immediately, moving Mantenbo to... So, using Litchi's action to drop Mantenbo in her space, then boosting Kodagaishi to move the Mantenbo 3 spaces, then striking. Well, this massively, massively telegraphs 4 wins, but it could be the speed 6. Nope, it's 4 wins, okay. Yeah, Zsolt plays Sweep to discourage Litchi from pulling him onto the staff so that she can gain advantage. She's forced to push him away. Zsolt preps, she preps, back we go. Zsolt running to range 2. Litchi considering what to do. Looks like she might be taking her Mantenbo action. Well, she is, in a sense. She's using her character ability to remove Mantenbo from the board and take another action. No, she's not. She's deciding what she's doing. Never mind. I'll wait before I call what it is. Alright, yep, so this is, what is this, robbing the, no, Kong on Kong, excuse me. Advance moves in your space, advance to and strike. Yep, hits him with Grasp, puts him onto the Manton Bow. He played Grasp, interesting. Wonder what he was calling there. Maybe Unarmed Lunge. Alright, she gained advantage thanks to the hit effect on Manton Bow. She is maintaining pressure pretty well here. Zsolt EX attacking, this is very, very dangerous. She plays Focus, probably calling Blades of Fervor, it is Dive. He hits and then retreats one. Sorry, advances one with his character ability to end up back in the center. So he did crossover, he just used his ability to come back as a hit effect. She's not stunned, so she draws, but she misses. She uses her character ability to place Manton in her space, and Manton's ability to move into his space, draws for end of turn. The Manton Bow does not give you another action, although Litchi's character ability does. That's why she got to drop it in her space for her action, get a new action, move it into his space, in turn. Alright, Zsolt preps, Litchi strikes, mix up here, just plays sweep, sweep into focus. That is a 7 power sweep, pretty strong, gonna hit for 5 and burn a card. Gets a transformation out of hands, not the most important one, but a pretty important one. And also gains advantage, which is a non-trivial thing. Zsolt chose to not move, and he drew. Sticking to range 1, she places Manton Bow back on him, again consuming her turn. Zsolt preps. Parry, probably gonna hit a cross-up. Yep, there it is. Whew. That leaves only Whip Crack accessible to be EX transforms. Life is looking pretty hard for Zsolt right now, actually. Litchi knocking out these answers. Actually, knocking out these questions. Zsolt boost defend. Not really sure of the defend, probably just trying to slow things down. That removes the Manton Bow, so she has +4 guard, +0 to 1 range, -1 speed, and a hit effect. Alright, this is Gunblaze. That is Assault. Yeah, so she's going to push him, then he's going to close. So it doesn't really matter. Because of his effect. Alright, he takes 3, she takes 5. Okay, so he chose not to draw cards. She should have gained advantage. Yeah, there you go. Zsolt missed the advantage. Oh. Okay. The way they chose to correct that was by him, instead of dealing +2 damage, drawing 2 cards for Gunblazes before. We can assume that Litchi agreed to this. Alright, and I think Litchi just prepared, and now Zsolt transformed Whip Crack. Zsolt finally has enough to exceed, although it would be a very expensive exceed. I'm sure he would prefer to land another transformation. Well, to land a transformation, since he didn't land this one. Alright, she's going to again use the Manton Bow, where she uses her action to drop it, uses its action to move it. No, he does pay the 3 gauge, alright. We're up against Hunter Men now. Alright, Litchi initiating. Oh! That's very punishing. Unarmed Lunge with the Ignore Armor, +1 power, and gain advantage. Goes to range 4, gets advantage. With 1 Blaze of Fervor and both Whip Cracks down, and 1 Gunblaze down, range 4 is a lot worse for a Zsolt than usual. Notably, I think a sweep from Litchi is almost unbeatable. Yeah, he would have to combo from Dive into 2 more things, or from Blaze of Fervor into... Oh, no, okay. Yeah, so he's just faster. He's going to stun her here. Takes 4. She takes 4. He advances. Yeah, she was looking to get the reset on with the on-curve Rinchan. That was a little bit risky. Probably hoping he would play Gunblaze. Looks like he's deciding whether or not to combo. Probably not comboing. Yep, no combo. He prepares. Alright, she drops Manton Bow into his space, again using her ability, then the Manton Bow's ability. Both players studiously inspecting each other's discard piles. Pop quiz. Who remembers how many readings have been played? Well, how many focuses have dropped? Alright, we have a move 1 taking their action. Strike with an EX. Huh. Well, there's only so many EXs left. She's going to play a focus. Alright, so 5 minus 2 is 3. Zsolt has an awkward time here, actually, because following this up effectively... Yeah, so she takes one more. He backs out of range, which probably isn't really where he wants to be, but it's a lot better than letting her hit him back and steal advantage. Zsolt prepares. She's removing it? Okay. I would have expected her to move it, honestly, because I don't think we've seen any 13 orphans drop, and there is one 4 wins and at least one, I think exactly one, retropping the Kong left. Wait. Correction, both 4 wins are down. Never mind. Okay, going to reshuffle to pick up 9 Gates of Heaven. It has a 1/3/7, but the range 1 is deceptive because it has advance 3. The 3 is also deceptive. Doesn't matter, it gets parried. That's the risk. I was hoping he didn't have the second block, but that deep into his deck, he's pretty likely to have anything he wants. Alright, now she moves the Manto Bow over to him. Zolt's turn. She could very well be holding EX13 Orphans, and that is a huge threat against him. Because that would be speed 6. Alright, he's moving on to the Mountain Bow. That's really interesting. Alright, she's boosting light. All green now covers Fatal Eye. Although, you know, he can add speed. He could probably EX it. He can make that not the case. Alright, move one taking their action. Pays for something, and strikes. Probably speed. That would be a speed 8 Fatal Eye if it is Fatal Eye. Bringing him out of range of all green. Yeah, he is still in range of the theoretically EX13 Orphans, but only speed 8. So he's threatening the Fatal Eye to cover all those. Yep, it is a speed 8 Fatal Eye. Okay, block. This is fine. He's going to probably combo into cross-up. Yep, going to get that transformation into play. So he can finally start drawing some cards because his economy is non-existent right now. That was a 3 power overall and then 1 more damage. She paid it 4, so she had 4 armor total, so she was covered. Alright, it is now Zolt's turn. He prepares. Zsolt is actually pretty weak right now. Only 6 cards left. I believe both Gunblazes down, 1 Fatal Eye down, one still up. 1 cross-up left, but not in this position. Well, looks like she's going to run out of the corner, though. Makes sense. Especially if she has a backstep to follow up with, but this puts her at range 3, where he basically has to initiate with Fatal Eye to cover EX all green. He prepares. Alright, we might see a reading here, knowing how this Litchi player has been running. We might see a backstep. We might see neither of those. Move action to retreat 1. Well, Zsolt has used both of his somersault? No, not somersault. Somersault's the other one. Heightened reflexes? No references out. The boost that says move 1, take another action, it's on Wild Hunt. I believe it's called Heightened Reflexes. Anyway, pretty sure he's used both of them already. So. Oh yeah, she paid Force from Gauge, so then when she drew, she was over 7, so she had to discard down. Yep, which she is now done, so back to Zsolt. Alright, both players checking each other's discard piles. Litchi having already reshuffled, 13 cards left in deck, 7 in hands. Zolt's not yet having reshuffled, 1 card in deck, 5 in hands. Zolt's about to become face up if he takes that move action to follow her. Not so sure that's going to happen though. I think he has a dive left. +1 speed dive would be pretty good here. Not sure if that's true though. It is fortunately not my job to keep track of what is in everybody's discard pile. I like doing it, but I'm not paying enough attention. Alright, dropping 2 normals and that Fatal Eye. Yep, makes sense. Get rid of the normals you can get rid of except for Focus, which is pretty reliable at range 1. Going to range 1. Getting that Fatal Eye back in deck so we can play it later. This all makes sense. Yep, so 1/7 Fatal Eye and Purification, all solid. Litchi's turn. Well, she might have a reading, but even if she does, punishes are few and far between here. She's out both unarmed. Oh no, she reshuffled actually, so she could have anything. She could theoretically have anything. Well, except Grasp. She definitely can't have Grasp. For those wondering about the hand tip here, by the way, this is just a courtesy. It's very common in high-level and casual play. Because the idea is if your opponent can just search your discard pile, look at the cards in play, figure out exactly what's in your hands, you only save trouble. And time. Excuse me, by choosing to reveal it. It is not, like, a mechanical effect, right? It's not in the rules. It's just here. Let's just save some time. Alright, move action to retreat. He will probably chase her, but with what is the question. Dropping the Ultra as Force is kind of a no-brainer, whatever he does, even if he just changes cards. He could boost Somersault, but that's on Fatal Eye, and that would put a copy of Fatal Eye not in his reshuffle, which is probably not a thing he's willing to do. I feel like... oh. Dropping both normals, okay. Fair enough. Getting rid of that reading threat, or at least making it much, much less likely, is a hard decision, but it did leave him with no normals that were known to be threatened, or known to be readable in his hands. He does have a Fatal Eye in hand, which is a very good card, especially if he gets to initiate. But even on defense, it's an Eye, which is basically an upgraded version of a DP, Dragon Punch, a type of reversal. The whole point of reversals is that you can use them in reaction to things on defense. They are good defensive tools. Well, most information about Zsolt is known at this point. He has 2 cards in hand, which are Fatal Eye and Fanatical Purification. 1 card that is unknown, and everything else is above board and face up. She is going to move Mental Mode to her space for her action, and then use Kong on Kong to advance 2 and strike at range 1, threatening a Grasp or a Tsubame Gaishi here. Tsubame Gaishi is pretty darn likely, since it would push him onto the Mountain Bow, and he did drop that focus. Ooh. Oh, what? Okay. So he hits her for 1. Can he combo into anything useful is the question. And is he going to risk it? Depending on what that new card that he drew was, because this was a Wild Swing Grasp. Depending on what that other card he drew was, he might be able to get out of this, or he might not. He could also potentially chain into the Fatal Eye if he wants to draw a card and see if he miraculously gets a good answer here. Looks like he is going to use... okay, he's going to chain his Fanatical Purification for the Force. That makes sense. Can't push her. She takes 1 damage. He gets to draw another card. Oh, and he will chain into the Focus for the Armor. That makes sense. She takes 1 more. He draws a card. Now he only takes 2 damage from her because the Focus provides the +2 armor, essentially. Alright. It is his turn, and he has a nice little bank of gauge... or... what? Oh, drew from the wrong deck. Wrong stack, rather. Alright. He has a nice little force bank in his gauge that he could use to change cards, or that he could save for later if he feels like he can survive. Nope, here we go. That is a 5 force, so he's going to draw a total of 6. Putting him back in the runnings to be a major threat. Alright, slightly boosting defends. Unfortunately was not able to push through that momentum to kill him at his weakest. Zsolt is now back to being scary. Alright, Zsolt checking Litchi's discards. She is getting... she's not getting that low, actually. Still worth keeping an eye on things, though. You don't want to lose track. And occasionally you'll find that both copies of something have dropped and you didn't realize it, and you don't have to be afraid of it anymore. That's really good. I think she's still holding up to 2 all greens, up to 2 13 orphans... no, she's paid 1, I'm pretty sure. Up to 1 13 orphans, up to 2 Tsubame Gaishis, which are all pretty threatening cards. EX, is he spending... Oh, what is that? Oh, hold on. He is reconsidering. Hold up, let's check that discard one more time. Okay, satisfied this time. EX with no additional payments. EX sweep. Alright, well she can tank it, but it's going to hit resources pretty hard. Knocks out an all green. That is 7 power. She pays 2 force, takes no damage. Hefty cost, but at least she got to put that gauge to use. Zsolt, for his part, managed to knock out an ultra. Did not get an advantage yet, so he's probably going to chain in something else, but it is blocked, so maybe not. Like, the value of doing so would be relatively low. It would basically just be paying a force to get an extra action. Or paying 2 force to get an extra action. Sort of. I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, it looks like he gave up the turn, so it is back to Litchi. She prepares. Now, that EX sweep did not go all that well for Zsolt, so... I mean, it's certainly not bad. Hitting an EX sweep, just landing an EX sweep, is a good thing, but he didn't really convert it into anything amazing. It's like both players are looking through Litchi's discard pile again, making sure they keep an eye on what is left. I think both grasses are down, which means that Tsubame Gaishi is the big threat with this board state. Like, the Manton Bow there means Unarmed Lunge and Tsubame Gaishi are both super, super relevant. Alright, Zsolt prep. Zsolt really wants to draw into his second Fatal Eye. Alright, Manton Bow goes into his space. Yep, she's now threatening to steal advantage if he hits her and she hits him back. Alright, here we have a +1 something, probably speed. Oh, no, probably power, actually. It's Fatal Eye. Tsubame Gaishi, which is currently not stunned, but it will be in a second. It was not power, it was speed, okay. I guess he was afraid of the EX Tsubame Gaishi. But yeah, she took 4, because this has +3 power. But since it only had +3 power, we can safely assume that was payment for speed. Zsolt needs to combo into something to stun, because this has +4 guard. His force, yep, there's Gunblade, gonna hit for 1. He has the advantage, and he stuns, so time to take on the turn and see if he can finish things off. I think he's now out of Fatal Eyes, unless I've lost track, which actually does make life a little harder. But if he has any grasps, that'll do the job as a combo opener. Especially if she's out of blocks, which I'm actually also not sure of. Yeah, Tsubame Gaishi is a really good defensive tool. It did force him to invest probably a little more than he would have liked, but he is getting her closer to death with every card he spends. And he still has a lot of deck to go through, so in this, yeah, deck out is even less of a threat in this game than it was in the previous one. The previous Zsolt game, I mean. Alright, it is Zolt's advantage. Isn't it? Oh, okay. Searching discards again. Cool. Yeah, I thought it was. Zsolt is going to retreat 1. Interesting. That doesn't do a lot. Specifically because Litchi can pick up the mountain bow and then have plus 0 to 1 range, but she will also -1 speed in that case, which means that she... Okay, she's going to retreat 2 and be striking at range 4. Alright, if he has Blaze of Fervor, he probably throws it out, because that does outspeed everything here. Oh, what is this? It doesn't outspeed cross, actually. This could be a cross, just a bait. Hard to say. Looks like she's reconsidering what to strike with. Looks like she's reconsidering the entire turn. Okay, apparently the opponent is allowing her to rescind the entire turn. Yeah, just striking, not picking up Manson Bow, not boosting additional backstep, just striking. Alright, well this telegraphs cross. And not much of anything else, actually. Could be spike or dive, I guess, but those are very, very risky. Which, okay, to be fair, at this point in the game, it's not a bad time to play something incredibly risky. Alright, I've been streaming for about an hour and a half, if you've been following along, or even if you haven't been following along this whole time. Drink water. Stay hydrated. It's good for you. Focus, cross, there it is. He takes 1, he draws a card, she gets gauge. She gets some distance. Distance being the most important part here. At range 5, Zsolt is... at range 5, without having 3 gauge, Zsolt is essentially helpless. He has to move back in. Ideally, he'll boost Wild Hunt if he has it, and then he's at range 4 where he can threaten stuff. Unfortunately, in this case, that puts him on top of Manson Bow, which means he is still under significant threat. But better than at range 5, where he's actually helpless against 13 Orphans and the like. Checking those discards. I wonder, if Zsolt has the other focus, might be looking for a reading to end the game. Feels more like he's just checking options, though. Alright, yep, there's heightened reflexes. Yep, gonna strike, and probably +1 speed. Oh, and +1 power. All the stats. Yeah, Litchi checking to see what is up. Dive and Blaze of Fervor and Whip Crack are all relevant threats. Gunblaze also feels a little less likely, but could be. Gunblaze at speed 6 would actually be unstoppable. I mean, she could potentially block. Maybe focus. But she can't take a cross, and that's the thing that would outspeed it. Okay, looks like Litchi's checking her own discard pile to figure out her Wild Swings. Well, it has 1 armor on it. So... Oh, but that was +1 power, wasn't it? Yeah. Alright. Zsolt demonstrating that he could combo anyway, just in case the math was off. Alright. Well, that game is Zsolt's favor, which is 3-1, so that decides the set, I believe. If I've got it right this time. I'll check. Oh, well, shoot. I was trying to ask if they wanted to chat with the audience. They seem to already be disappearing. I'll try and snag them back. But yes, that decides the set. Which does mean the bracket resets. So they will have another set to play. Hey! Howdy, y'all. Good games! Thank you for letting me stream.
Yep.
Yeah, it just seems to have become a tradition.
Do it again next week or something, right?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I should be able to. But yeah, it's just a tradition to pop in and chat with people after games at this point, so I figured I would. Yeah, good.
I know I'm super tired.
Completely fair. So am I actually. Well, I won't keep you all long, but congrats, MiX, and I look forward to seeing and hopefully myself streaming the rematch.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck. See y'all next time.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Steady.
Okay. I just would have felt bad if I hadn't done that now. I don't know who. I think it was Kala who initially got me to do that. Now I'm like, oh yeah, this feels good. I should do this every time. All right. Well, with that, that determines the set. Which, like I said, bracket reset. So there will be a rematch probably next Sunday. We'll see. I don't know. Schedules are weird, right? Not up to me. Hopefully, I'll stream it. I'd like to. But for now, I think that's all I got. So thank you all very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Remember, if you haven't been following my instructions throughout, drink water. It's good for you. And stay hydrated, my friends. Bye.